Hey everyone, it's Dr. Bucci here again. Today I wanted to talk about back pain and where it comes from. So we have sectioned off this horse's back to show the areas of back pain, the most common reasons why they become sore. So we'll go over each one, and obviously this is not all encompassing, and every horse is an individual. And each of these areas is also a place that can have primary back pain or kissing spine or other issues primary to the back, but we'll talk about that and some other ones. So the first area is what we would call the withers area, the cranial thoracic area. It is from the top of the withers to about the mid-rib portion of them. This one is a really super common area for primary saddle fit problems. So if you imagine everybody talks about the width of the tree, which is really important for horses. So if your tree, which if you imagine as a triangle is too narrow, then it does sit on these caudal trapezius muscles here, and it causes pinching and an extra pressure, which can cause atrophy of those muscles. He doesn't have very good muscles here in the first place. But it can cause a lot of pain and atrophy and lack of blood flow to those muscles, and then you get more prominent withers and things like that. The other thing that can happen here is if the tree is too wide. So ideally, the points of the tree should sit on these caudal trapezius muscles, and you should have some clearance of the saddle above the withers. If the tree is too wide, then you will get where it doesn't sit on here and it actually slides down, and then the pommel of the saddle actually hits the top of their withers. And a lot of horses, you'll see that as rubbing on the spinous processes, or these kind of poking up points of their withers. You'll see the little white hairs if that's happened in the past and they've healed from it, or you may see sores and things like that. Now they can get sores in there from horses with high withers, from their blankets and things like that. So don't go accusing everybody with sores on their wither area of having saddle fit issues. But that is something you'll see when you get a little bit further into horses that are having saddle tree width issues. So they will get a lot of pain here. And the other thing too is if things aren't fitting really well and it's causing a lot of pressure and it's causing more torque on those withers. So their actual spine isn't until way down here actually. So I mean it comes down their neck and then it comes up this way. So these are really, really long bony aspects, and you cause more torque on them and push them a certain way, they will get really sore. Our second area, so that's the first area, a lot of saddle fit issues in that area. It can be if they've ever flipped over or had an injury or something in the pasture, but you usually notice those and know about those beforehand. So this second area is the most frustrating area. So it encompasses kind of the mid-rib area to the back portion of the ribs. It is about T, thoracic vertebrae T 12 to 15, all the way to like L2. So this thoracolumbar junction is a really common place where we'll have sensitivity for horses with ulcers. So gastric ulcers, those ulcer points are along here. Those meridian acupuncture points are in this area. It's also a really common place for secondary back pain from lower limb lamenesses. So if you imagine a horse is limping on a lower limb, on one of their back legs especially, that they'll start to compensate and get back pain in that area. And it's also a spot where you'll get pain from saddle fit issues too. So if you have a saddle that goes too far back or is too wide or too narrow, and you're causing just a lot of bumping and a lot of issues in this back area, so the tree, the front width of the tree can be okay, but then the back portion of the saddle may not be appropriate. So you can get pain there too. So it's really frustrating in that area because there are so many things that can cause pain in there. And so it's kind of like a process of elimination. So oftentimes I will do an adjustment and say, hey, if this is primarily a back pain issue or even a secondary back pain issue, then this should help. You should see some difference. But if it is especially gastric ulcers, you probably won't see a huge difference. with just one acupuncture treatment or one chiropractic treatment. If it's a saddle fit issue, you might see some improvement for like a day or two, and then as you keep riding, it keeps getting worse again because you're putting the noxious stimulus, the uncomfortable saddle back on, and it just keeps hurting them again. So that is our frustrating area too. So that can take a lot of time and a lot of effort for us to figure out what's going on, but it is definitely worth it. This third area is about L2, so lumbar area 2, their pelvis. So right up here is the tuber sacrale, the top of their pelvis. In this area, there is a lot of motion. So they don't have a lot of motion in their back in the thoracic area because they have the ribs to stabilize. So in this back portion, it's just those lumbar vertebrae. So it has an incredible amount of dorsal ventral or like flexion motion, a lot of side to side motion too. So when your horse is bending side to side, you have a lot of motion there. And anywhere where we have a lot of motion, it opens up the door for some pain. So just like if you're working really hard and you get some back pain, all of a sudden maybe that one vertebrae hurts, but then the others around it are compensating, and then they start to hurt and get injured. So it's sort of a circular process. And this is a really common place for primary and secondary back pain issues because there is so much motion in these caudal lumbar vertebrae. So that about covers our 3 sections and the most common things that cause back pain in those areas. As we said, you can still have primary back pain from kissing spine in all of those places. But just some of the other things to look out for if you're looking at your horse and you're brushing them and they're sensitive, or you're writing your hand down and they're sensitive in those areas, just some things to consider. Always with back issues, I recommend you have a vet look at them, whether that be a vet who does chiropractic and acupuncture to look and say, hey, what's going on, so that you can eliminate some primary lameness stuff first, and then go ahead with your chiropractic adjustments. But if you like the information that you're getting from here, feel free to follow Turning Point Vet on Facebook and Instagram, or leave some comments below, or if you have any additional questions, we're happy to answer them. Thanks, and enjoy your riding.